All right, so we're back at the National Alliance booth. We have the lovely, beautiful Mr. Lance Ewing, who is a CRM faculty member for us, the man with more experience than what he looks like, that's for sure.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
So Lance, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us today.
Sure.
And so I guess just to kind of start off, what is sort of your background? How did you get into this fabulous and dynamic world of risk management insurance?
Well, I basically started out falling into the industry, and then usually many colleagues of my age and stature fall into the industry. Now, there's great university programs out there, fabulous programs out there, and I'm thrilled to be part of those as well too. But I kind of got into it by default. I was kind of more of a safety loss control person, risk management. I did security work and all that. And one day they said, "Hey, we'd like you to do workers' comp investigations." And I got really good at that. And our carrier said, "You should come over to our side." And I said, "Insurance?" And I was like, "That's like a snooze fest. I don't want to do that, right?" But he showed me the way, and I got hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. So I was on the carrier side for a while, and then I got my master's degree in law and justice, and I started applying that, and risk management came about. So the opportunity, ironically, here in the city of Philadelphia, I got my first chance to work in risk management, and I just loved it. It was like a duck to water. It was just absolutely great, and I've had my career all the way through. And risk management, I think, is the foundation and the fabric of all business. You can't start a business, you can't close a business, you can't do anything without insurance being part of it. And that's where the DNA comes into play. And so every business, large or small, has got to have some piece of insurance. But with that now, through the National Alliance, is CRM, Certified Risk Management Designation, allows you to build in that puzzle piece that so many people miss. Insurance is only one arrow of the quiver, but risk management is the whole quiver. And I think that what the Alliance does and with what educational programs do, it's absolutely outstanding.
So something that I've always admired about you is like you have
My hair?
Your hair is
okay.
one.
Right.
That's one of several. But one of the other most important things about Lance that I've admired just watching you over the years is you have. It seems like you have such a desire to always learn and to always have your ears up. You're always looking around what's going on. It amazes me every time we talk how much of just everything you know that's going on in the industry, that's going on with other things outside of risk but business related. What gives you that desire? Like what makes you want to continuously learn everything you can every day almost?
Well, I think if you're stagnant over a period of time, both mentally and physically, there's going to be a problem in the long run. And I think some companies get caught in a vacuum lock at some point in time, and they say, "We're fine the way we are." I've always felt I can do better. Both my teenage daughters tell me I should be doing better, so I need to do better. So I'm always looking, and one of the things that I do, and you mentioned as a faculty member, I get the huge honor, to be honest with you, to talk to professionals. I always come away after teaching a class of learning something. I always take something away from that. And events like the RIMS events and all the other shows that the National Alliance go to, there's always a learning curve. I try to avoid folks that are just, I'm very happy in my foxhole, and that is not in part of the way I'm made up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm always trying to learn, but I'm also trying to teach as well too. So if I can give back, and that's why I do so much for the universities, that's why I try to do so much in the National Alliance, is so I can give back. And I think what the National Alliance has done with the agencies and brokers, getting them on board for the last 20 years related to this risk management has been absolutely, you are one of the founding leaders regarding that. So my hat's off, obviously, to you.
And your hair.
And my hair. Absolutely, yes, exactly. That went away a long time ago, but thank you very much. I appreciate that reminder. Yes.
So I'm going to put you...
By the way, my barber is French. Gillette.
So Lance obviously does a lot with students. He's very active on a number of university boards around the country. I know you do a lot of guest speaking and everything like that. I forget the company you were with at the time, but you told the story one time of bringing on interns, and it was a lovely lady that you had checking policies.
Yes.
So you remember that story?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so tell us about how you've guided this one student.
I'm very big on interns, and I think interns, because they're our future, right?
Yes.
And they need to learn the industry. So I had a young lady, And I brought her in, and what I did was I took last year's policy, and I took this year's policy, and I said, here they are, and I gave her a highlighter and all this stuff, and I basically locked her in a room for 2 days, and I said, I want you to do a comparison and give me an executive summary on what you see. So she comes out like sort of bleary-eyed, but I will tell you, having dealt with brokers my entire life, there was no better executive summary than I got from this comparison. It was tabbed, there was bullet points, it was highlighted, it was perfect. She said, Mr. Ewing, thank you. I said, thank you. She said, yes, you saved me. I said, saved you? She goes, yes. If this is what risk management is, I want nothing to do with this career. She goes, I want to go into something exciting, like actuarial science. And I'm like, oh, well, we saved somebody here, but I don't know who it was. But, so using interns is, I think, one of the hugest things you can do. Because these students are bright, they're educated, they're wonderful. And like what the National Alliance has done, like at Florida State University and other universities that you've reached out to, it's been absolutely just amazing. And every university I've spoken to, I'm up to 21 at this point.
That's awesome.
So I've had the privilege of hearing about the National Alliance and the CRM and the CIC and all the designations. And some of them say, I want to have more designations behind my name than in my name. And so I said, your first stop is the National Alliance.
So, in addition to all that you do for this industry, what do you do for fun? Do you have time for fun outside of this industry, or what?
I do. Spending time with you is fun, right?
Oh, come on now.
Right? Yeah. It's not my number one goal, but it is, up there. As my brokers and my insurance carriers know, I do play golf. Okay. I am so bad. My ball was in the woods so much, I know which plants are edible.
I think we share that in common.
Yes, exactly, right, yeah. I had a caddy one time I said to the caddy, can I get there with a 7-iron? He goes, eventually. So I play some golf. I like to do that as well, too. Both my daughters ride horses, so watching them ride and compete and all that is kind of an exciting thing for me to do. Talk about a little risk management. Put your most precious daughter on the back of a 2,000-pound animal with a brain like a dime, right? It's like, hello, we can do this. Yeah. But anyway, so that's part of what I do as well, too. But I have to be honest, one of the things I really love to do is to get out with people in our industry and spend time with them, whether it's brokers, whether it's underwriters, insurance folks. I just was with the Lloyd's of London folks, right? Yeah. We don't place anything with Lloyd's right now in my company, but there's future opportunity, and I learned so much from those folks. So, and giving back. I try to give back, and as much as I possibly can.
Absolutely. So, can we talk about some actual risk management insurance things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things I think that's always sort of around RIMS and everything like that is, what are kind of the emerging risks? What are people talking about? So can you share kind of some of those? What do you hear people talking about at this year's conference, or things going on that have kind of piqued your interest?
Well, I always think there's emerging risks, and one of the things I think of, like the four leaders who are my colleagues who are ahead of the curve, if you will, looking down into that lens, if you will, where the future's going, and we're not just satisfied where we're at. But artificial intelligence is an absolutely huge number, and I think we're seeing that creep its way into our industry even. There's an insurance company in Japan right now that has eliminated 13 positions, and they review life insurance policies for claims. And what they do is, from artificial intelligence, they basically go through the policy, then compare it to death certificates and people who have passed away. It automatically issues the check to the people. It puts in there, and so we're seeing this artificial intelligence. Obviously, the driverless cars and drones and all those things. Technology situation that we currently have. But things in the future that we're not looking at, I think, down the road is on more of a geopolitical level, more on a global level, more even on a state level. Many risk managers, and I'll be speaking about this at a session I'll be doing tomorrow on risk and resiliency, is that they get fine in their own silo, if you will. My company has a great business continuity plan. I've got all my insurance locked in. I've got the right deductibles. I have the right limits and all that stuff. And that's all great stuff. But the problem is what happens when you don't have an issue, but your surrounding community has an issue, and the state doesn't have a plan, or your next door neighbor doesn't have a plan, and they don't have the right insurance, or there's issues like that. Even the United States, we discovered that during Hurricane Katrina, that our government wasn't ready for something of that magnitude. And there are many corporations, economically. Greece, right now, with their economic situation, the Brexit issue, that's going to be an issue. As I said, I was talking to some Lloyd's folks. How does that affect them? How does that not affect them? So those are huge issues that you have to take into consideration. Scarcity of water. That's one of them that's going to come around. I mean, I lived in Las Vegas, and I mean, Lake Mead, you now can see the fish. I mean, you used to fish for them, but now they just say hello, like there's a name for them, and it's just, I mean, so water scarcity issues are going to be problems. Clean air. I mean, those kind of things. Carbon footprint, whether you believe politically or not. I mean, and we're adding to it. We may not be the whole cause, but we are adding to it. So how do we self-evaluate ourselves? So those are some of the emerging risks, and there's re-emerging risks that are coming back too. Legionella is coming back. So there's some issues related to that. Sorry, Philadelphia. Hate to bring that up again. Sorry.
So let me ask you one other question here. So we heard a great gentleman talk, the opening deal, the Global SO project and stuff like that. Right. What do you think about third world type risks? How do those sort of play in at a broader society perspective? Because we're all people, we're all humanity, and how does that trend where it's not so drastic? Does the trend continue where there's the drastic piece, or are there things that you see just coming together and economies coming up that necessarily weren't, and sort of the challenges and kind of risks around those?
I think sometimes, and I don't say this flippantly, is that certain geographic areas have more the whack-a-mole approach. So they'll pop up really, really well, and then they get beat down by some issue. You take Venezuela as an example. Humming along really well in the oil situation, but then socially, economically, politically, something happened that's now bringing them into that area. You look at Africa for hundreds of years, great resources, great opportunities, but again, that's that internal turmoil. And eventually, I think it's changing the entire thought leadership per country. And that's a huge task. It's an absolutely huge task. And everybody says, oh, we just pour money into it. It's like, no, it's not the way it is. So to your point about humanity is what can you give? I have a broker friend of mine, and his daughter, who's a wonderful young lady, she had the world by, really, her life was ahead of her. She made a decision to go to Africa and start an orphanage over there. And she's been there for a number of years and just growing this. And she said, I want to give back to them. And she was a very well-to-do and a very well environment, and she gave it up in order to do that. Now, I don't advocate everybody needs to do that, but there's a situation where she saw humanity from a risk, and you want to take a risk? I mean, my friend said, I dropped my daughter off in Africa and drove away crying because I may not see her again. But her heart and her desire were there. So that's really good.
And that's amazing to see. It's amazingly powerful to see people.
And a small little act can go such a long way. It absolutely. And we have social ills in our own country.
Absolutely.
And we need to address those, but I get that. But we are a shrinking global organization, and the risks continue to grow in those other areas. And the education, again, that National Alliance does, as you continue to grow in those international footprint that you're beginning to develop now, I think that's going to resonate, and you'll be part of the solution in the long run.
Because education it's a huge, can be a very powerful solution to a lot of those issues.
The young lady I brought up about the orphanage, it's the first thing she just launched is school. She said, because if I can't educate, right, I can't elevate. If I don't educate, I don't elevate. Without that, so that's a real issue. And to your point, that's why I think the National Alliance, from an education standpoint, that growth of what risk actually is. The gentleman who talked about washing hands. I mean, there's a midwife who's delivering and she has no soap or no water in order to wash hands. What is the mortality rate going to be on that individual, that family, that country, that village?
It's just crazy.
It's huge.
Well, we appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
The only other thing I can say is that my risk management colleagues in the brokerage community and the insurance community are high on education, especially the younger generation that's coming up. So that next generation that's coming up. I don't want us to get overly, say, oh my gosh, they're the next wave of the future. They need educated. And I think what the National Alliance has done, and other organizations and institutions as well, and RIMS, is bringing them to the education. And I can't say enough good about what CRM does and what the Alliance does in helping to educate young agents and brokers. And many times in the classes that I do teach, I'll say, how many of you are under the age of 35? And it used to be a smaller number. It is now growing. Those hands are going up. So us doing the education, I think, is really important, because you got to reach down to that next generation, grab them a hand, and that hand is the education that we're providing, and pull them up to the next level.
Absolutely.
So anyway, thank you for the time.
Absolutely,
It's
man.
great
And thank
seeing
you for
buddy. Absolutely.
everything with CRM and everything you do for us.
No
We
problem.
appreciate it.
Anytime whatsoever.